1. Well, we mentioned the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. Let's go to Union County, Ohio. That's where we'll find Oliver Sloup with Blue Line Futures. What are you seeing?
A lot of corn and a lot of soybeans, but I tell you what, it's a beautiful day. It's supposed to be a beautiful week. Last week when we were out here, we hit some record high temperatures, so the cooler temperature certainly nice to see. This morning, though, we've seen some pretty good corn. We've stopped in about 4 different counties so far. We've got 13 on the books for today, and so far things look pretty good. The crop tour covers 7 states. 5 of those are expected to be at record yields from the USDA, Ohio being an exception to that, expected to be about 5% less than what we saw last year. However, what we've seen so far is right in line with some of the yields that USDA put out yesterday for Ohio. Now, the samples that we're collecting, not necessarily indicative of the overall county, but we get enough of these samples together. Hopefully that gives us a better idea. And later this evening, Pro Farmer will put all that information out for the state of Ohio.
Oliver, this isn't your first rodeo or first tour. Why is it so important to get out in the field and see what you're seeing?
It is just important to get boots on the ground, get enough samples from the fields. I know a lot of firms and a lot of places are using satellite imagery and all that new technology, which is great and fantastic, but there's something to be said for going to see it for yourself and getting outside of your backyard even, especially since our headquarters is in Chicago. It's tough to see how things really look out there, and getting to talk to farmers that are on tour and stopping at some places as well is just real great to see it for ourselves and get a better idea holistically of how things look.
Okay, and you're on the eastern leg of the tour. There's a western leg as well. When do you all meet back up?
We will meet together on Thursday up in Rochester, Minnesota, so we're looking forward to that. I think all in all, throughout this week, there's probably about 100 scouts or so, as mentioned, going across 7 different states, collecting about 1,700 samples of corn and soybeans. So again, it's about finding enough data points, putting that together to spit out some good data.
Oliver Sloup is with Blue Line Futures in Union County, Ohio. We'll take a break from our row crops. We'll come back and we'll talk livestock futures. We'll have both live and feeder cattle. We'll hit hogs as well as Market Day Report continues in a moment. Up 22. Let's go back to Union County, Ohio. That's where Oliver Sloup is on the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. Not really a chance to see much livestock while you're out there, but I know you're keeping your finger on the pulse there.
We've got a mobile command center set up in our vehicle. So, yeah, we've got the screens pulled up, watching and working with clients in the cattle and lean hog markets. And nice to see a little bit of a recovery rally here to start this week's trade after just getting taken to the woodshed in Friday's trade. And I know you and I have talked several times about just a lot of headline risk looming over this market, and potentially those headlines keeping the would-be buyers at bay, that being the managed money. And over the last several weeks, we have seen a trend of long liquidation from the funds. Funds now net short feeder cattle contracts, and I think net long on live cattle shrunk to just around 40,000 contracts, which is a relatively neutral position. If you go back to last year when we bottomed out, the funds were net short as much as about 10,000 contracts, and they were pretty darn close to even on live cattle. So nice to see some recovery rally here, but I'm not so sure that the lows are in just yet. Still a seasonally weak time of year, but it'll be interesting, and certainly at least nice to see a little bit of green out there.
Okay, so there's 2 other stories I think that work in. One, we've got the cash cattle side. How is that going to affect us this week?
Well, a lot of people paying attention to cash cattle, and just like last fall when we really started to accelerate to the downside, a lot of the broad-based fundamental aspects of the cattle market remained intact, and we've seen that so far this year. Cash softened up maybe a little bit, but overall, a lot of the fundamental backdrop remains in place. My concern is if you look further down the road, you start to see weakness in some of this economic data that we've been getting, and that starts to hit the consumer a little bit harder. I know everybody looks at interest rates and Fed policy, and they want the results now, but that, I think, is just starting to trickle into the consumers, and that could potentially be a headwind for demand and prices.
Yeah, that's Oliver Sloup. He's in Union.
Hi, I'm Oliver Sloup, Vice President and co-founder of Blue Line Futures. Join me on my journey for this year's Pro Farmer Crop Tour, August 19th to the 22nd. I'll be on the eastern leg, which starts in Ohio, goes through Indiana, Illinois, into Iowa, and then up to Minnesota. I'll be sending out my normal daily grain market commentary as well as special updates from my findings on my route throughout each day. Sign up for these updates by filling out the form on this page, and we'll send you one of the best looking koozies around. And I love corn koozie because who doesn't love corn? Thank you, and I look forward to you joining me on my journey.